I mean, that's a way we can save some time at the end. Okay, just do that.
Okay, sir. Sir, is it visible?
Yeah, this is visible. And another thing, I'll just make it clear that if I see the attendance is quite low during the day of presentation and all, I have to really cut down the marks. I'm not really wanted to strict on that part, like in terms of attendance and all, but people can't really take it lightly. This is the things also, important, equally important. Okay, if someone is presenting, that means if the others are like decided not to listen it, it's bad, because this is also a part of the learning process only. Okay, then I have to go little harsh on it. They have no other choice for me. Okay, so just let other know about it, that if they are not really the Harsan is here, right? Harsan.
Yes, sir. I'll inform them, sir. I'll post
Yes,
it on the group, sir.
yes, yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay. And I can see that, like, can you give me a feedback? Is it like the internet is a issue? Because, like, I can see like every class, almost like 8 to 10 people are missing.
Sir, I'll ask them and then let them know. I'll let you know,
Yeah,
sir.
because the thing is, like, if I see this kind of attendance, and if some people are constantly absent, then I have to give that I grade, and there have no other choice. The problem is, like, you guys will not realize now that what's the importance of the grade, and last semester you will cry for certain grade, otherwise you won't get the job. You have to remember that. And then the last semester also, for some of your seniors, that happened. They are just crying that, like, I need this CGPA, otherwise it will be difficult for me. So just keep that thing in mind. There are certain courses where you can easily score quite a good CGPA, but grade. But if you don't take it seriously, then you will be the ultimate loser.
Sir,
Okay.
can you send the list of people who are not attending like regularly? I'll let them know in person or.
Yeah, I'll just do that. I'll just do it today at some point. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Is it your all team member is here? Roll number 29, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So I'll check, sir. 1 minute. Abdul, can you please confirm if everyone is here?
And I will check.
Yeah.
Abdul is here. Yeah, Abdul is here. What about Akhil? Akhil Soni? Roll number 4, roll number 5. Are you guys here?
Sir.
I can see one Akhil here. For another Akhil?
Sir, one Akhil is not there in the meeting. He will soon join.
Sorry?
One of the Akhil is not there.
Roll number 4 is not there, sir.
Okay. Is it like he is not going to make it today?
No, sir, he'll be coming. We don't know why.
Okay, anyway, like, we can't really lose the time. So just whoever it is, just start. Whoever want to start.
Okay, sir, I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead. Just tell your
Good
name.
morning. Yeah.
Just
Yes, sir.
introduce your name and then start. Okay.
Yes. So, morning, everyone. Today, our team is going to be presenting on perovskite solar cell. So, our team consists of Rohit Nagrale, Abdul, Abhishek Saharia, Abhyuday, myself, and Akhil Soni, roll number 4 and 5. So, the contents we'll be presenting are, first of all, we'll be discussing how conventional solar cells, what is the structure of them and how they work. Then we will introduce perovskites. Hello.
I think only Abhishek can speak now, and then all of you can mute. Okay, let him finish, and then whoever coming next, they can present. You understood? Otherwise, it will be in between. There will be disturbance, and he will be confused. So
Yeah,
Abhishek,
please,
you're presenting
everyone,
right now,
mute
right?
your mics. Sir, Abhyuday. Abhyuday will be presenting right
Oh,
now.
acha, Abhishek. Okay,
Abhyuday.
okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Roll number 3, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Roll number 3.
So just tell, like whenever someone presenting, just tell your roll number. That will work out. Okay. Okay. So
Okay, sure.
just only roll number 3 can keep their microphone on. Others can close it, mute it. Okay. And you go ahead.
Sure, sir. So the contents we'll be discussing today are first we will be discussing what is a conventional solar cell and how does it work. Then we'll be introducing perovskite structures, and then perovskite we'll be discussing on perovskite solar cell structure, and then we'll see how these perovskite solar cells are prepared, and then we'll come to its issue part. So we'll discuss the stability issues, and then we'll compare it with other kinds of solar cell and the future challenges for this cell. So first of all, let me give you an introduction on solar cells. So solar cells are basically divided into 3 generations based on the progress we've made over decades. So the first generation solar cell includes the most common silicon wafer solar cell. This is the most efficient solar cell found till date. So research is going on to just increase the third generation efficiency above this level. And there's a second generation solar cell, which are also known as the thin film solar cells. They were used mostly because of their lower production costs and less material was consumed by them. So that was the reason they were replaced by the silicon wafer solar cells. And the third generation is the current generation that is working on using materials, using nanoparticles, or you know, we are just trying to reduce the just like we did in second generation, that we reduced it from silicon wafer to a thin film solar cell. Now we are just looking to reduce the size of the layers, so that different layers can be combined and its efficiency can be increased. So common third generation systems include multi-layer tandem cells. Just like I said, that we are looking to include multiple layers of different efficiencies so that a single maximum efficiency is obtained. So moving on to the structure of a conventional photovoltaic cell. So it basically consists of 3 layers. First is the light absorber layer, and also the most important layer. This layer converts the incident photons to electrons and holes. Now, the basic principle of a photovoltaic cell is photons are used to convert excitons to electron. Photons are used to split the electron, split into electrons and holes. Okay, so that is what this layer does, light absorber layer. And then is the carrier collector layer, which carries the electrons and holes to the metal contacts. And then there are the metal contacts which transfer the charge carriers, and a circuit is completed. So the most important part of the photovoltaic cell is the light absorber layer, which has different materials ranging from cadmium tellurium to quantum dots and perovskites. Okay, then the basic working of the photovoltaic cell. The most basic version of the solar cell is in the form of PN junction, and silicon is used in it mainly due to its abundance. So photon is absorbed on the plate of the cell, and if its energy is equal to or greater than the band gap of the semiconductor, then the electron hole pair is generated. And if the electron hole pair is bound, it is known as an exciton. So these once these pairs are generated, they are separated by the electric field which is present at the PN junction, and they flow in the direction of the metal contacts, which is facilitated by the carrier collector layer, and then they constitute an electric current, and it becomes a continuous flow. So this way, light energy is converted to electrical energy, and hence the name photovoltaic device. Introduction to perovskite structures will be given by Akhil Soni, roll number 4. Is here.
Yes.
Okay. Before you start, I'll just ask few questions.
Yes,
Roll number
sir.
3. So tell me
Yes,
the
sir.
what basic difference between first generation and second generation solar cell?
So just as I said that first generation solar cells were see as we can see in the diagram. So there's a single crystalline silicon layer and there's a multi crystalline silicon layer. So these layers were they're big in size. The basic difference is the size and the production cost, sir.
Why the production cost
So
is high? Do you have any idea?
uh,
Because production of defect-free crystalline phase is a very challenging thing. Hello,
yeah.
are you getting my point? I'm saying. Hello.
Sorry, sir, your voice broke in between.
Yeah. So what I'm saying
Yeah.
that synthesis of single defect-free crystalline
Yes.
phase silicon
Yes.
is very challenging, and that's the reason it's a very expensive process. Okay, that you should have a little bit of emphasis on, and then why you need the crystalline phase, like why there is different approach altogether, and how it can part of the efficiency. Do you have any idea, like what is the key factor in between play, and then you understand what I'm saying?
Actually, it was just supposed to be an introduction because our main focus was on perovskite
Yeah,
cells. So we'll
right,
be
but
discussing all that in
you are taking
we
care
are
of this,
just focused on the third generation, sir. Sorry,
right,
sir.
right. But you are presenting this part, so that's the reason I was expecting a little bit, but it's okay.
Okay.
Okay, no
Sir,
problem.
I'll keep in mind from next time, sir.
Okay, next person.
Yes, sir. Akhil?
Oh, I thought you're asking another question. Sorry.
No.
Okay, so I'll be the next slide. Yeah. So I'll be telling you about the perovskite solar cell. So
Who is it?
the perovskite.
Sony I can see, but it's who? There are two Akhil. Tell me the roll number.
I'm roll number 4.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you about the perovskite solar cell. So it's a type of solar cell which have the absorbing material a type of ABX3. As Abhyuday told, the absorbing material is the important part of any solar cell because it's gonna convert the light, absorb the light energy and convert it into the electrical energy. So what is the ABX3 structure? It's known as perovskite structure. X will be a halide and A and B are the two cations, in which A can be a organic or inorganic material, a cation, and a metal B will be a heavy metal ion. So on the right side, you can see the structures. In this structure, the X is the and the halide. It's on the tetrahedral voids of this structure, which is holding A and B together. So the most common type of the perovskite absorber is methyl ammonium lead halide. You can see the structures at the bottom of the page. So uh, it's in the last second the most efficient uh, absorbing material which has been used for the solar cell is the perovskite structure because the efficiency increased from 2009. At 2009, the efficiency was 3 point something, and in 2018 it became 20.3%. So it has made a huge impact on the solar cell. So that's why we are using the different combination of ABX3. The scientists are using different combination of ABX3 so that the efficiency may increase. So view the next slide. Hello. Hello. Are you there?
I can hear you.
I changed the slide. I changed the slide.
Yeah. So now the properties of the perovskite material. What all properties of material should have to be an efficient solar cell? So the first 2 points are understood because the higher the absorption coefficient, high will be its capacity to change the absorb the light, and high will be the electrical energy. And the high charge carrier mobility, and the other four will be as you proceed through the PPT, you will know how these may make an impact on the solar cell and why these points make an impact on the solar cell. So moving on to the next slide. Hello. Abhyuday? Yeah. So the classification of the perovskite class crystalline structure. So ABX3, it have two basic crystalline structures. One is of the form AbO3 and another ABX3. So the AbO3 is is the inorganic oxide perovskite. These types of material possess ferroelectric property, hence they are used in piezoelectric materials. These materials does not absorb light and generates electricity, so we don't use that in the solar cell. And the second type is the halide perovskite material, ABX3. These materials absorb the light and generate electricity, hence these can be used for the perovskite solar cell. And further, this is divided into two parts, and alkali halide perovskite and the organometallic perovskite. In this presentation, we will be discussing about the organometallic metal perovskite. Yeah. So, Abhyuday. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So. Yeah, that's it for my part. The ammonium lead iodide, which is the most common used perovskite, will be discussed by Akhil Soni.
okay.
Role number 5.
Before you stop, I'll just ask one question and
Yes,
try
sir.
to answer it properly. Okay, why high
Okay.
carrier mobility is important?
Why the high carrier mobility? Because because the electrons, the transfer, the movement of the electron is what the current is formed, right? So the high carrier mobility, the electrons in the holes, they should move freely across the solar cell, right? So that's why the high carrier mobility is
See,
important.
these questions actually
Sir, may
give
I
to the
answer?
so try to answer to the point, and if you know then it's fine. Don't put yourself in trouble. I'm telling you. Okay, try to just think about
Yes,
it
sir.
really carefully and just try to
Sir,
answer it into the point. Why the high carrier mobility is important? You know, there have a huge different kind of strategies adapted to achieve high carrier mobility.
sir, may I answer?
Yes, sir.
No, I'm just asking roll number 4. So roll number 4 can only answer.
Okay, so,
Okay.
so let me think for a minute.
Yeah, you have to give it right now, the answer. Okay, roll number 4.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you have to give me the answer right now. So you'll not be able to tell that, right?
Maybe due to the whole transfer layer and the there's two layers, whole transfer layer and electron transfer layer, which we'll be studying as we proceed to PPT. So it will be easy for
So I'm
those
talking about
layers to.
mobility in active layer. I'm not talking about the mobility in hole transporting layer or electron transporting layer. I'm talking about mobility of electron or hole in either electron or hole in the active layer. Okay. Anyway, next person can come.
Akhil Soni, roll number 5. Are you there?
Roll number 5. No. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Then who will come?
Yes, sir.
Sir, he is here.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, start your presentation. Okay. No 4.
Okay.
No
Okay, sir.
5. No 5.
Okay, sir. I will now discuss the methyl ammonium lead iodide. This is commonly used material in the perovskite solar cell. It is a good light absorber in the.
I can't really hear you. Akhil.
Yes, sir.
In between, I think there are some problem. I can't really
Yes,
hear
sir.
you.
Sir, there is a bad internet connection because of bad
Okay.
weather in my
Yeah,
area.
you try now. Yeah.
Sir, it is a weak. It has weak binding energy of excitone produced by light absorption. It is approximately 0.03 electron volt. The time of recombination of electrons and holes is hundred of nanoseconds. One of the property of perovskite material that the band gap energy is not only depend on one type of particle but on the whole cell, and that property of the perovskite materials helps to tune the band gap of the perovskite material. Now I will discuss the band gap tuning. Band gap tuning is required to extend the absorption to the longer wavelength without sacrificing the absorption coefficient. Changing in any of the A, M or X in AMX3 change the band gap. The band gap also can be tuned in between 1.55 electron volt to 1.17 electron volt by changing the ratio of lead H to tin. Like we can see in the photo that MaPb 1 minus X SnX I3. As we change the X means Pb is to Sn ratio, the energy difference, that is band gap energy, changes. Like in the x is equals to 0.25, the band gap energy is 1.24 electron volt and 1.17 electron volt for x is equals to 0.5. So there are different ways to uh, change the band gap. So now I will discuss the perovskite solar cell structure. The device
I think he's completely gone. Hello. So are you guys can hear me, or is it my internet issue? Is it
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
okay? So it's
No,
probably
sir. I guess his internet connection is not stable.
right. This is another issue. So who is available now? So I think just skip his portion, and you guys go and try to present the next portion. And by the time if he can come back, then it's fine. Otherwise, I don't know like how to solve this issue. And some of you can contact him.
So is Rohit here?
Yes.
Yeah, you can present.
Yeah.
You want me to present the screen or you'll be presenting it yourself?
Can you please present the screen?
Yeah, sure. Is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
So my name is Rohit Nilesh Nagale, and I am going to be presenting the preparation method for perovskite solar cell.
Can you be little louder and bring your microphone close to your mouth?
Okay, sir. Myself, Rohit Nagrale, and I'm going to be presenting the preparation method for peroxide solar cell.
Yeah, go ahead.
To deposit methyl ammonium lead iodide peroxide on a substrate, two methods are available. First one is solution process, second one is vacuum process. In solution process, there are two common methods. First one is one-step coating, which is spin coating of mixed methyl ammonium iodide and lead to iodide solution. And second one is two-step coating, which is spin coating methyl ammonium iodide after coating it with lead to iodide. Abhida, can you please move to the next slide? So in this diagram, we can see in one step coating, there is a titanium oxide substrate over which lead to iodide and methyl ammonium iodide mixture is being coated in, which is dissolved in dimethyl acetamide. And in the second diagram, in two-step coating, first there is TiO2 substrate over which lead iodide in dimethyl formamide is being coated. After that, over lead iodide substrate, we are coating it with methyl ammonium iodide, which is dissolved in isopropyl alcohol. Abhyuday, can you please keep this slide? Now, vacuum process. Perovskite films can be prepared by thermal evaporation of chemicals. Co-evaporation of methyl ammonium iodide and lead to iodide leads to methyl ammonium lead iodide phase, and the uniformity of the film is much better than that of solution process films. In the diagram, we can see that the vapor deposited uh, process is, the coating is much more uniform than in the solution process. Abhyuday, can you please skip to next slide? Now, three types of devices have been fabricated by using both one-step and two-step deposition methods. Device configuration part. First one is basic methyl ammonium lead iodide peroxide solar cells. Second one is methyl ammonium lead iodide on TCNQ coated uh, mesoporous titanium oxide. And third one is TCNQ doped methyl ammonium lead iodide solar cell. TCNQ is tetracyanophenoldimethyl. Now in the first one, basic methyl ammonium lead iodide peroxide solar cell. First, we have a glass substrate over which a coating of FTO, which is fluorine doped tin oxide, over which we have a coating of crystalline titanium oxide. Over that, we have a coating of mesoporous titanium oxide. Now, mesoporous is a material containing pores with diameters between 2 and 50 nanometers. Over that coating, we have a methyl ammonium lead iodide. Over that, which are organic macromolecules, and over that we have a coating of gold. Now in the second, which is TCNQ coating perovskite solar cell, we have first a substrate of glass over which uh, fluorine doped tin oxide, over that crystalline titanium oxide, over that mesoporous titanium oxide, over that a coating of TCNQ, over that coating of methyl ammonium lead iodide, over that spiro and gold. And in the third one, it's similar as well, just with the change of a doped methyl ammonium lead iodide and TCNQ over the mesopore titanium oxide coating. Abhyuday, can you just change to next slide? And all deposition process happen at a low temperature below 150 degrees centigrade, which is suitable for fabrication of flexible solar cells based on PET substrate. PET substrate is just polyethylene terephthalate, which is a derivative of ethylene glycol and terephthalic acid. The concentration of methyl ammonium iodide solution affects the crystal size from about 90 nanometers to about 700 nanometers. Photovoltaic performance is also strongly influenced by methyl ammonium iodide concentration. Abhyuday, can you please next change to the next slide. Now we see the stability issues. Although
I guess that's my part. Stability issues.
sorry.
Hello, roll number 29.
Yes, sir.
So why this perovskite solar cell is so interesting? And what is the basic problem?
Mm,
Because you are taking care of the synthesis part, so you're supposed to know that.
yes, sir. Sir, the base. Sir, can you please repeat your question?
Sorry?
Sir, can you please repeat your question?
I'm saying that why overall this perovskite solar cell is so interesting, right? Because you can see in current days, many people are working on solar cell, perovskite solar cell, but they are not able to make it commercialize, right?
Yes.
Because of some reason, like why they are not able to commercialize it, but many people are working on that area.
Sir, because we are using methyl ammonium lead halide, which is, and in that lead is a toxic material, so that's why it is very difficult to commercialize it, as lead iodide is readily soluble in water.
No, it's basically the kind of, it's an easy process, and it's what called efficiency is quite high, but the stability is the major issue. Okay, basically in a humid environment it can easily compromise. Okay, go ahead, next person. Who is coming next?
Good morning, everyone. I am Abhishek Saharia, roll number 2.
Go ahead.
I am about to discuss about the stability issues faced in the perovskite solar cell. First of all, the solar cell is very versatile. It can't be denied, but there are some issues with it due to which it should be taken into account. The first of all, although the toxin amount has gone down in recent years, the material used for a solar cell must contain lead as its constituent, and the lead is toxic and harmful for the environment, and no better alternative has been found yet. Besides that, when exposed to heat and humidity of the environment, the perovskite material breaks down rather quickly, and the breaking down of the perovskite material is shown in the picture below. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, so let's talk about the degradation factors. First of all, the instability of methyl ammonium lead halide, or in this case we are using iodide. So that's the main obstacle for commercialization. The next is in presence of moisture, it undergoes rapid decomposition, which results in significant decline in the device performance. By device performance, I mean that the PCE, which is the power conversion efficiency of the solar cell, like it is reported to drop as much as 80% over a 24-hour period due to this. Besides that, PbI2, lead iodide, is formed during the decomposition or the breakdown of the methyl ammonium lead iodide, which is sparingly soluble in water, and that would result in extreme toxicity for the environment. The below diagram shows how during while heating the color changes from dark brown to yellow, as shown in the diagram. The next part will be covered by Abdul.
Okay, here roll number
2, sir.
roll number 2.
Yes.
So what what the strategy right now people are taking to stabilize the perovskite solar cell?
Sir, research are going on to use tin instead of lead, but there is also issues with it because when we are using tin, it is also unstable and it readily gives away 2 electrons to go from Sn2 plus to Sn4 plus state. So
Right.
that is also a challenge, but still people are researching on it to find a better alternative to lead, so that.
Right. So already there have some. Do you
Yes, sir.
have any idea like how they are doing it? So see, like there you can choose the other components, no, which could be like hydrophobic, and overall the material, perovskite material, can be hydrophobic in nature. That's the way they can protect.
Yeah,
That is
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
taking, right? So
Yes,
that
sir.
is there. But why you are not able to answer those?
Sir?
Why you are not able to answer that thing properly? Anyway,
Sir, actually, there are research going on like using tin in place of lead, because lead is the main toxic and harmful part, which is for the
tin,
environment
tin is also not that uh,
efficient.
environmentally viable, right?
Yes, sir,
I,
but still better than using lead. So, like
right.
I researched about it and I found out that, so I thought that might
Hmm.
be
See, that
useful.
is basically one way. It is basically toxicity, and but my question was like how you can achieve a stable perovskite structure. Okay, so there are
Yes, sir.
different approaches. One is
Sir,
like selecting the metal. Another thing is like how you basically establish the environment so that the one of the easy ways like basically hydrophobicity. That way you
yes,
can
sir.
protect its degradation and integration of the water and all. Okay.
Sir, we can like make sure that during the production, it is like the material is coated with some compound which does not allow the excess of water, and it is maintained in a
Actually, I
thermally
wanted to
stable
see
environment.
some of those approach also you guys are highlighting, but that is not there. But it's okay. Like this is for the first time for you guys also. It's not that big of a deal, but it's okay. Who is
Okay.
coming next?
Sir, I'm roll number 1.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Abdul.
So, yes. So, my name is Abdul Hakim, and I will complete the last part of this presentation. I will be comparing perovskite solar cell with its competitors, such as cadmium telluride and zinc solar cells, comparing their cost and their efficiency. So, on the first slide that I've made here, you can see that there is a table that briefly shows what the cost is, like high, low, medium, what kind of cost of raw material, furnished material, fabrication, and so you can see the perovskite solar. It is actually way front than all of its competitors. Not only in raw material costing, finished material also, even in fabrication, energy payback period, and even in efficiency. So there's not even a single field over there where you can see that perovskite solar cell is actually lacking in front of its competitors. But there are some issues which I will be explaining in the next slide. Abhyuday, please, can you bring the next? Okay, so solar cells, when they were initially invented, they actually cost $300 per watt. 74 years back. So this data I have given is at 74 years back when the first generation solars came into existence. And now, after 34 years, there have been changes, there have been technological changes, and the price has reduced up to $3 per watt after being fully installed. So there is a huge decrease in price, and this all up to the silicon technology, the use of silicon in this solar cells. So decrease in cost of this solar cell, all due to from 300 to $3 is due to the use of silicon in this solar cell. But however, the cost of solar cell is also affected on by installation. That's the major chunk of its cost. So people usually use this solar cell because 35% of the cost is utilized in installation. And silicon, however, has reduced the cost, but still people avoid using it. But the advantage PostKite has to this also is that it uses different manufacturing techniques. Like in the second last point, I've mentioned roll-on-roll printing method. It's a manufacturing technique that reduces the conventional cost of this. In addition to this, solutions can be spread or printed on thin, flexible, light-weighted surface. The perovskite solutions can be like printed, so this further reduces the cost. And they are actually prepared synthetically, so cost of production is very less in perovskite solar cells. Whereas, Abhyuday, can you take a slide backward? Yes, as you see in the third column now, the silicon solar cell. Though the raw material cost of silicon is low, but the finished material cost of silicon is actually high. So that is the disadvantage of using silicon over there. But as you can see in the last column where perovskite cells are used, even the raw material cost is low, and even the finished material cost is low, and even efficiency is higher. So it has an advantage over silicon solar cells as well. Abhyuday, can you take it to the third slide? Yes, so this is actually a graph that actually compares all of these solar cells together. As you can see, on the x-axis is the time in years, on the y-axis is the efficiency in percentage. So you can see that this solar cell, like the amorphous silicon, the cadmium telluride, the crystalline silicon, and the CLG, this all have been invented back in 1975. And perovskite solar cell is a recent invention. It has been invented 2010, but still, in the as you compare the latest data of around 2018 or so, in the latest data, it has actually overcome, or it has actually overtaken most of its competitors. And only the crystalline silicon solar cell are actually having more efficiency. The perovskite ones in the latest by 2018 or so. So it has already overcome the first generation and the second generation solar cell, and most of the third generation ones as well. As you can see, the quantum dot back one slide back. Abhyuday, can you take it one slide back?
Yeah, it's stuck. Just a second. Yeah.
Yes, as you can see, this organic solar cell and this quantum dot and this EZTS, these are actually third generation solar cells, but still perovskite has overtaken them in terms of efficiency. So it has actually a really great advantage when it comes to efficiency. Yeah, Abhyuday, the last slide. So now when talking about efficiency of perovskite solar cell, there are even some disadvantages and some drawbacks that needs to be highlighted, so that we can understand the both side coin of this perovskite solar cell. So first of all, the first thing I like to mention is the material toxicity. The main reason for lead. Lead actually is a harm to the environment. It can escape from. It can actually be present in the environment as gas, which cannot be identified easily, and thus it can be taken up by plants. And if it's taken up by plants do require lead in all amount. But if it's taken by plant in a huge amount, then people who are eating it or animals that are eating it may also get affected up the food chain. So that is a huge damage done to the environment in terms of toxicity. The second thing after toxicity is stability of this solar cell. Though it has the potential to replace silicon-based solar cell, it is not stable for that. And the reason for this is the organic and inorganic hybrid compounds that we are using to make this solar cell. The main problem with that is it is actually highly sensitive to moisture in ambient air, and over there they fall back when compared to silicon solar cells, because silicon has has advantage that it does not get affected by moisture in ambient air. But inorganic and organic substances used in this do get affected by moisture in ambient air. And moisture also leads to the domino effect, as you can see next point. So domino effect is basically you start a small reaction and then series reaction follow up. So this kind of thing is noted in this kind of solar cell. So that is again a major problem. Second last point shows that the temperature is again one of the hurdles. As temperature increases beyond 90 degrees Celsius through heating, it can start to decompose. And the last point is the most important one, hysteresis. So hysteresis is actually a phenomena that represents the history of dependence of a physics. So what hysteresis actually means is that generally refer to hysteresis in the terms of when we talk about magnetic fields and the magnetic spin and this kind of thing. But whereas hysteresis is of kind IV, meaning current and voltage. There is a hysteresis between current and voltage over here. So what is observed is that the inorganic semiconductor that is used in this solar cell, actually due to that, ions are transferred through this solar cell. So transfer of ion actually creates electronic defects inside the solar cell, and this electronic defects are the major cause of hysteresis. Hysteresis, the meaning of this is that suppose there is a relationship between the current and the voltage in direction, like in the forward direction. Let you plot current and voltage, and you start the process backwards, and you plot the reverse graph of the same thing. So if the forward graph of current and voltage not coincide with the reverse graph of it, so you say that there's a kind of hysteresis in this process. So that is one of the main concerns. So thank you. That's all from my side.
Okay, it's good that overall things came up nicely. One of the suggestion for all of you, I think in the future also, who is coming and to present, give the acknowledgement of the source. Where from you are getting this information. What is the journal's name? So that you all have to appropriately acknowledge. Okay. So just do that. Huh? Okay. Now, yes, you guys give a nice glimpse of like what is a perovskite solar cell, what is the issues and all. But like I'll appreciate if you can put little more of the chemistry or the explanation on the some part. Instead of like having so much of writing, just focus on that. Okay. Take a help of see, you have probably seen my slides, how much I really put this text or how much I really go and explain, right? Are you getting my point? I'm saying? Yes, I know there are many people who put a lot of text, a lot of things, that is actually not going to attract people, right? It will not be interesting talk unless and until you go and explain things properly with the schematics, with the data, so that is very important. Okay, so this is basically the presentation is not just for your evaluation purpose. Also I want to put some input so that way it will be helpful for next year when you go for the job interview and all, your presentation skill will be improved. Okay, so it has a benefit, and every year I just keep this thing just to help you guys there. So just take these things as an opportunity and properly do it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so roll number 1. So basically, give me your view. You just talk about last 10 minutes, right? Now, what is your view? Like, what do you think? That is it perovskite solar cell can be a successful thing in the future, or it's just a kind of thing we are just working but never it will get success? What do you think?
Sir, I think that if we will be able to change the organic and organic substances, the transfer of ions and some issues related to this, I think maybe if we come up with some substances, good compounds that can be over there, that reduce that increase the stability of the solar cell, maybe I think perovskite solar cell can be success in the coming.
See, just to answer this thing,
because already in small amount.
See, Abdul, what I
because
really
in very small amount.
Let me finish. What I really wanted to know that you should figure it out what are the problems and how I can solve the problems. Okay, related to the perovskite solar cell. So if you can just summarize on that direction. Okay.
Yes. Sir, actually, I think perovskite solar cells are a recent invention. So I think we should give some time to improve. Like most of the first generation solar cells, it has already overtaken in terms of efficiency. So definitely in the coming years, I think it has a huge advantage and huge potential to become most of the other solar cells as well. So it's not, it won't be able to overtake silicon and other solar cells. I think it will be possible.
Okay. Anyway, so roll number 5, is he still here or he is still struggling? Roll number 5, Akhil.
He is not here. He's not online.
Okay, so probably the next week, some point we'll start from him, or probably I just can take a separate Viva. Okay, so just ask him. Probably just get in touch with me. I can reschedule and he can present separately. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's all then today. If you guys have any question, then just raise that. I'll try to answer those. Is there have any other concern so far? No?
So, for the production of a single defect-free crystal,
Hmm.
why do those defects allow? I read that those defects allow recombination of excitons.
Yes.
What happens exactly?
So defect means basically the place where the surface energy is such a way that it so in that defects either the hole or electron get trapped. It doesn't really get energetic in such a way that energy is kind of shallow. It gets a local minima, and that's the place these highly energized things is get trapped. And so it's not really immediately transferred from one place to another. One means like it's not directly collected to your designated electrode, right? So that's the way the other particle can come in that defect region and it allow to recombinations. And I said very well that in case of solar cell, recombination of the charged species is bad. It decreases the efficiency. Okay, so that's the reason you want a defect-free path. But yes, some of the cases, people with the amorphous design also, they can improve the charge carrier mobility and if effective like the distance of charge carrier stability that can be improved and people can really get high efficiency. But yes, in general, defects are bad. It can trap the excitons and it can facilitate the recombination. See, when you are moving, if there have some defect, you basically will trap there and someone can come and catch you. So that is a basically easy way to bring the analogy. You understood?
Yes, sir. Got it.
Yeah. So some point what happened, like for the water splitting and all, these strategies people adapt. So in case of solar cell, these defects are bad. But for some other applications, it's good because what happened, they can trap these charged species, but yes, they don't allow to recombination. Okay, they want to trap in the defect in special particular charge species, so that those charge species can actively take part in some other phenomena, oxidations or reductions, but they should not be recombined. So that is basically another philosophy people take a help. So defect in some material bad, but the defect in some other material is good. You're getting my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So then we'll just end up the class today. We'll. Hello.
Sir, can you upload the last lecture? It has not been uploaded.
Okay, I'll do it today. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And also I'll give you guys the topic also for the next week presentation. Okay. For the team 2, the topic I supposed to give it today, right? So I'll give that. Okay. By today afternoon you will get it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Take care. Bye bye.